Yeah, that 12th song's gonna make all the difference. I figure a room full of my friends and people I've never met before, as well as everybody on the interwebs, is a great time to admit one of my greatest fears. This is a ferocious animal. This is the most dangerous thing I've ever encountered in all of my travels. It's a water buffalo. You're laughing, but when one of these things is charging you, and all you have to defend yourself is a camera tripod, it's slightly unsettling. When you're driving a motorcycle and they jump in front of you at 40 miles an hour, it's unnerving. And when these four guys stand around you for 45 minutes and you're not sure if they're gonna lick you in the face or trample you, it's kind of freaky. And I encounter these things because I study water birds. I go to the places where these things live. And I'm trying to study these water birds with a really simple question in mind, and that is, why do these birds go where they go? Because I figure if I can answer that question, I'll learn a little bit about these wetland ecosystems. And these wetland ecosystems are important to me because I don't know how geeky I'm gonna get here, but pound for pound, they're the most productive and economically valuable systems on the planet. And that value means that they're highly developed. And it means that they're highly threatened. So I use these birds as a lens to view these systems so that I can try to identify some patterns. The tricky part is that these systems are in China and Mongolia, so while some people use travel to get away from the stress of everyday life and work, I have to get away to get to the stress of everyday work. I have to get away to get to these systems. It's a 13-hour direct flight from Chicago to Beijing, and then there are multiple domestic flights, half a day on a bus, hours on a boat, the occasional motorcycle ride. It's a long way to get. But I'm not doing it alone, naturally. I've worked with the International Crane Foundation. I've been very fortunate to do that since 2003, and they have local partners in China, Mongolia, and we have collaborators in universities around the world. So why do I get to be the one to do this stuff? Well, to quote the cinematic tour de force that is the movie Taken, I have a very particular set of skills. I speak some Chinese and some Mongolian. I've lived in rural communities in these places for extended periods of time. I know what it's like to get around, and obviously I blend. I'm like a chameleon, a 6'1", 200-pound chameleon with mythical feet that nobody in China believes are that big. I got into this because I wanted to study the Siberian crane, which is a critically endangered bird. They're beautiful. There's only about 4,000 of them left in the world, in the wild population. And they all go to one spot in southeastern China for the winters. Now, it's incredible to look at 99% of an entire species on this planet in one spot, and it's quickly terrifying because you really start to think, what happens if this one spot disappears? And this is not a pristine wilderness, like, don't get me wrong, all right? There are millions of people here. They've been here for thousands of years. These are working systems. And that work helps create the habitat that the birds use. But lately, those uses have been changing. Industrialization, better economy. There's not a short list of things that are going on here. And I'm trying to figure out what these new changes are doing to the system. For example, in 2010, I saw this for the first time. These are Siberian cranes in grasslands. Before 2010, this didn't happen. So I've got to try to figure out why and what it means for the species, as well as what it means for the other users of the system, like cormorant fishermen who still depend on fishing with birds for their livelihood. Now, I don't expect everybody in this audience to be crazy about birds, and I don't expect everybody in this audience to want to go live in a yurt in Mongolia for a couple of years. And you don't have to. You can take time to make really amazing observations in your backyard and on your way to work. And that's really all I do. It's not rocket science. I'm just making careful observations over and over and over again. Because when I do that, I keep coming back to two fundamental questions. What are these patterns, and why are they there? And when I come to those questions, I start to shift my perspective, and I can see things differently. And I can start to acknowledge that both the object of my interest and the object of my fear are part of an integrated picture. Thank you very much.